Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Not DnD, brought to you by EN World. This month, we're looking at anthropomorphic animals in role-playing games, and of course, we had to include Mausritter in this, and we have Isaac Williams here to tell us all about it. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, great to be here.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come on as well, as you are very busy, because it is Mausritter month at the moment. If anyone's been on Back a Kit in the role-playing section, you've probably seen there's mice everywhere. So we're going to be talking about that later. There is a campaign live right now. So if you're new to Mausritter and want to jump in, now is a really good time to get involved and listen. But yeah, we will talk all about that, Isaac. But before we get into talking about Mausritter in the game, I'd love to talk about you as a designer and as a gamer. So first of all, what was the first role-playing game that you remember playing? Do you remember that first experience?
Yeah. I was thinking about this last night because, it's often a question that comes up in interviews. And I was trying to remember so I know the first published role-playing game I played was a copy of a busted up copy of the D&D red box that one of my dad's friends gave me. But I was trying to remember if he gave me that because I had shown an interest in role-playing games and kind of knew that they were a thing, or whether that was the game that kind of taught me that role-playing games exist. I have a kind of a feeling that maybe I kind of invented role-playing games from first principles as a kid.
Yeah.
And then my dad's friend was like, "Oh, this is a thing.
Okay.
You should play these." I think my first real role-playing game was in that case an adaptation of the Diablo video game that I created for myself and my brothers, where it was basically the rules of the Diablo video game transposed onto dice, which was not not that fun, because it was mostly just smashing monsters. But I guess as an 8-year-old, that's basically all you want to do. But yeah, once I got the D&D red box, then I was really sold on role-playing games, and those wonderful black and white illustrations really sparked my imagination.
It sounds like you've been designing right from the beginning then, so making the unofficial Diablo TTRPG at age 8. Where did you go from there? So obviously it sounds like you're somebody that loved playing games and was playing a lot, but not everybody moves into working in this space and publishing. So what was that journey like for you?
I think that I just have the kind of brain that can't stop creating things, and as soon as I'm playing a game, I'm already ticking over in my head what things would I change about this, what you're sparking ideas of things that I would like to make. I was making board games as a kid, and making little war games with paper figurines, because my mum wouldn't buy me Warhammer figurines. I started programming as a very young kid, and programmed little video games. So yeah, it's just always been a thing for me, just creating games of various kinds.
Do you think that, because you mentioned obviously digital games as well as role-playing games, do you think your programming and knowledge of digital games influences your tabletop design? Is there overlap between the two?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that my day job is I'm a programmer by trade, not in the video game space. Just a regular old programmer. And I think that I approach game design in a very systematic and like mechanistic way. A lot of the same way, a lot of the same skills I use for programming, I use for game design, of really trying to boil down a problem to its core parts, and then fitting them together in a neat manner, which I think makes me probably a better editor of games than a writer of games. I think that it takes me a very, very long time to write anything, because I spend a lot of time making every sentence perfect,
Right.
and trying to boil down everything into its real root components, which means that working on Junk City has been great, because I've been writing a lot with Andre, and so I spent a lot of time. Andre, the other creator of Junk City is a popcorn machine of ideas, whereas I'm a careful editor. So we work well together, because I can take all of these crazy ideas and stick them together.
Yeah, and that collaboration for Junk City, it started with the original Mausritter as well, because you both worked on the the first version of it, which has been hugely successful. Got the 2021 Golden ENNIE Award for Best Family Game. Congratulations for that, and it's gone on from strength to strength. Like we mentioned, there's Mausritter Month, and there's loads of third-party stuff. There's so much going on. There's box sets. So we'll get into all that. But in case somebody hasn't heard of Mausritter before, how shall we introduce the game to them?
Mausritter is a role-playing game where you play as tiny mice in a huge and dangerous world. It's a game where the world doesn't really care about you very much, and you've got to figure out how to survive in that. You're still playing an adventure. You're basically a typical D&D adventurer. I know we're not D&D here, but you are playing the role of an adventurer. You're going out into dangerous places. You're trying to find treasure. You're fighting dangerous creatures. But the scale of everything is much smaller, and the stakes of everything is much higher, because you are a tiny, fragile little mouse.
And what was the inspiration? What made you want to create this style of game? Because, like you say, it is in some ways very classic fantasy adventures, but why little mice?
Yeah, well, my friends and I were actually playing a campaign of the board game Mice and Mystics, which is a very thematically similar game. You play as I think some kind of fantasy heroes who have been shrunk down into mouse size, and you're wandering through a fantasy adventure trying to survive. And so we were playing through that, and kind of came to the end of that campaign, and we're still enjoying playing as little mice. But throughout, my game design brain is ticking away throughout that campaign, thinking, oh yeah, I wish there was more ways I could solve these problems, and rather than just hitting the cockroach with my sword. And role-playing games give you all of those creative problem-solving tools. And so because of that, I was like, oh yeah, well, why don't we just play a role-playing game with cute little mice as well. And so I've been reading Into the Odd by Chris McDowell, which is a really fantastic game.
Yeah.
And it's really it's just such a simple, boiled down game that it's so easy to hack and turn into your own thing. So I went away, and the next week I brought to my friends the first page of the Mausritter rulebook, basically the Make a Mouse page with some basic rules for making a mouse, and a table of backgrounds to roll on that kind of give a bit of thematic flavor to who you are when you create a character. And then we kind of just started playing, and added in a few extra bits from other games that I kind of Frankenstein together to create what is Mausritter. So the magic system is taken from kind of adapted from another from Arnold Kay's The Goblin Laws of Gaming, which is a kind of a weird kind of pseudo unpublished game where it just kind of exists as in the ether as a bunch of blog posts. And you kind of, I think he kind of encourages you to not think of it as a published game, and to take it and make it into your own game, which I think is a fantastic way to think about role-playing games. And so the magic system from Mausritter is taken from that. The inventory system is taken from some ideas I saw in someone else's role-playing game blog, and kind of all combined together into Mausritter.
Beautiful. So it's a real amalgamation of different games that you've played and tried and taken the best bits and put it all together, which is great to hear. And I think that's why it's so great to try loads of different games and look at different stuff, because I think ultimately it makes you a better designer and a better player. So let's dig into it a little bit more. So character creation, one thing that's really nice about the game is it is really fast. And, you know, so you got some interesting choices, but it's not like a real crunchy long time we're going to be sat at the table. So could you walk us through how we make a mouse?
Sure. Yeah, it is very, very fast. And I definitely spent a while trying to like while I was writing the initial character creation rules, trying to boil them, and I had been thinking for a while before writing Mausritter, like how do you make character creation rules which are really, really fast. So you've got three abilities. You've got your strength, your dexterity, and your willpower, and for each of those you roll 3d6 down the line, just like you would for a typical old school Dungeons and Dragons character. But you only use the two highest dice from that. So you've got ability scores between 2 and 12. So you're a bit more fragile than your typical Dungeons and Dragons adventurer. And then you just simply roll a 6-sided dice for your hit protection, your HP, and a 6-sided dice for your starting pips, which is your money. And then you use those dice as a cross reference for your background, kind of give you a bit of thematic flavor of what your character is. So if you roll a 3 for your HP and a 2 for your pips, your background might be a bat cultist, and you might start off with a spell of darkness and a bag of bat teeth. Or if you roll a 5 for your HP and a 1 for your pips, you might be a dam builder, and you start off with a shovel and some wooden spikes. So it gives you a little bit of starting equipment, gives you a little bit of flavor of what your character might be. It kind of sparks the imagination a little bit, but doesn't put too much doesn't require too much thought ahead of time about what this character is. It kind of gives you a lot of room to find out in play who this character is, and room to say, oh yeah, I to say to the game master when you come up across a bunch of rocks blocking your way, oh, I'm a dam builder, maybe I know how to deal with this, and the game master has some kind of leeway to give you some advantage in that situation.
And talking about the core kind of mechanics that you mentioned there, so you mentioned it's kind of a rules light approach. What made you want to go for something quite simple? Is it like you were saying with your programming, you always wanting to boil it down to the most simple form? Is that just the common approach for most things?
That's right. I think that, and I don't know. I think I'm a fairly simple guy at heart. I can't keep that many rules in my head at once. So generally, I feel like when I'm game mastering, like actually, like being the referee of the rules is a whole nother layer on top of like imagining the setting and imagining the story and imagining the characters. And generally, I want to keep that rules layer as simple as possible for myself as a game master, because I don't want to have to pause play and go and reference a 500-page rule book and find the rules for grappling or whatever. I just want to make a ruling and move on. And the simpler the rules are, the easier it is for that to happen.
Yeah, I guess it also lowers the barrier of entry for people that want to run a game but haven't done it before and want to give it a go. But it can be a bit intimidating if you've got a big crunchy system, for exactly like you said. If you're like, oh, I don't know all the rules, and if I'm running the game, I need to do a lot of homework. But I guess that's not the case with Mausritter. Would you say it's quite a beginner friendly for running a game system?
Yes and no. I think it does
Mhm.
require a bit of confidence running a rules
Mhm.
light game, because it doesn't give you those guardrails
Mhm.
that you might enjoy for a less confident game master. Um, I mean, like, playing a game like Mausritter is playing pretend with a small layer of rules to which come into play at very specific times. Um, Whereas other games may give you a bit more of a kind of bit more guardrails about when you should roll dice, when the rules
Mhm.
should come into play, things like that, which may help you kind of build that confidence.
Mhm.
I think that it is a great role playing game for starting players, and I think especially an experienced game master and starting players, it's a great game for that. I hear a lot of parents playing it with their kids, and I love that.
Mhm.
Um, for a starting game master, I think it would be great to jump into it. I think people have had a lot of success with it, but I definitely hear from some people that like building that confidence is
Mhm.
tricky. And game mastering is a it's a skill, and it's a difficult skill to learn. And sometimes you may benefit from more support than Mausritter is able to give you.
Mhm.
Um, but also sometimes it's good to just dive in and do it.
Mhm.
Like the great thing about playing a game like Mausritter is you can't really do it wrong.
Yeah. Fab. Well, one thing I did want to talk about was the magic system and
Yeah.
the choices that you made with that, like thematically and also mechanically. So could you talk about how magic works in the world of Mausritter?
Yeah, so Mausritter, intentionally, the characters don't have any like skills or abilities really. They've got their core ability scores, but other than that, their um their abilities are kind of defined by the items that they're carrying. So you've got
Mhm.
a sword, you've got a shield, and one of those items you can have is a spell. So the spells in Mausritter are living spirits trapped in runes carved on obsidian tablets, and those are carried around by the little mouse as a little tablet.
Mhm.
And so you find these in dangerous places, and so you can become a wizard by finding a tablet somewhere in a dangerous place and using it, and hopefully use it well. And so the way the magic system works is so you've got this spell item that you can cast, and the way that works is you can choose to invest a certain amount of power in that spell. You roll 1 to 3 6-sided dice, based on the amount of power you choose to invest in that spell, and you get some effect based on the amount of dice you roll and the values of those dice. So a fireball would deal the sum of the dice plus the number of dice you roll to all creatures within 6 inches. So it does a bunch of damage. But the downside of rolling more dice is it also increases the danger of those dice. So whenever you roll, any dice that come up with 4, 5, or 6, you've got to mark a usage on that spell, which means that it can't be used again until those usages are cleared.
Mhm.
And then any 6 that you roll on your dice, so you get the big effect,
Mhm.
also means that you take damage to your willpower, because you've um, you've dabbled too deeply in this magic, and the spirits are mad at you.
Yeah.
And that can give you a drained condition, which will make it harder for you to keep going and adventuring. It'll make it harder for you to carry items because you're drained. um, and it can also just like knock you out completely. So yeah, spells can be very dangerous, but very powerful.
Yeah. What made you want to take that approach to magic in this game? Because different role-playing games, magic is a tool you can use and it's fast and fun, and there's not a lot of risk in using it. Why did you want to go this route with the game? Why did that feel right for this story?
I think that every time you roll dice in Mausritter, it's not a good thing. Um, dice in Mausritter are generally a punishment, or
Okay.
or at least very dangerous. The general kind of, I think the style of play that Mausritter is trying to encourage is to almost find the gaps in the rules and to wiggle your way through them.
Okay.
So when you're in a dangerous situation, and you do something risky, then that's when you would make a save in Mausritter. We don't ever make any skill checks to actually succeed at anything. We'd only make saves. And a save is to prevent something bad happening to you. So when you make a save, you'd roll a 20-sided dice, and you're trying to roll under your ability score, which is a value from 2 to 12. So most mice will have a value of 8 or 9, maybe, for a strength or a will or a dexterity. But you can also have 5 very easily. So so your chances of rolling successful saves are actually usually not that great. And so as an adventurer, you're kind of, I guess, the way that Mausritter pushes you mechanically is to find opportunities to not roll, to find ways to think of clever ways you can get around dangerous situations, talk your way out of things, or just avoid danger completely if you can, but you still want to get that treasure and get it out of the dangerous place, because you want to get stronger and better, and save the missing villagers. So yeah, Mausritter, every kind of mechanic in Mausritter is designed as some kind of push to the players to say, if you want to keep on going, it's going to cost you.
That's nice. It also does mean that when you're making a dice roll, it's meaningful, because I think there's nothing worse in a game where somebody makes a dice roll and it wasn't kind of needed, and it can sometimes halt the game, and you're like, why are we doing this if it's not doing anything? But like you mentioned in Mausritter, there's a risk, it's going to do something to the game that's, it's got meaning to it. You mentioned previously how the characters' abilities and things they can do is really tied to the stuff they have, like if they have the sword, or if they have one of the magic runes or things. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the inventory system you have as a result of this, because obviously the stuff you have matters in this game. So how do we go about managing and tracking that in the system?
Yeah, so Mausritter's got a pretty unique inventory system in that the things that you carry around are little item cards. I wonder if I've got some. Here we go. I've got a sheet of unpopped item cards there. They're little cards that you can pop out of a printed sheet, and
almost like a little postage stamp.
Yeah, a little postage stamp that you put onto your character sheet. And so these can be moved around between characters really easily, and you can also really easily see how much stuff you've got on your character. Yeah. You've got a very limited amount of space on your character sheet to put these items, and they also fill up slots in a really awkward way. So it kind of almost becomes a bit of a Tetris puzzle kind of thing. And then as you're adventuring, you're also going to collect conditions as well, which are kind of negative effects that affect your character. You might become exhausted or injured or drained. And those negative effects also fill up slots in your inventory, and make it harder and harder for you to keep going, for you to keep carrying the things that you want to carry. You might have to make the choice between carrying a golden statue or carrying your sword. Which one is going to be more valuable to you? That's a tricky choice.
Yes. No, that makes sense. I really like the inventory system there. It reminded me a lot of almost digital games when you got inventory management in them, but also board games as well, in the way that there was something physical you moved around. So it felt really nice from those different worlds, like feeding into the role-playing game.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of influence from like the Diablo inventory system. And moving chits around in board games is like just really physically satisfying. And each item also has a little track on it, which shows you how much usage is used on that item. So different items will use usage in different ways. Swords will be damaged by combat. Torches slowly burn out. Rations are used when you eat them. And so it all of these things kind of just deplete in a way. But it also means that it makes doing all that bookkeeping of your inventory items just really, like, it's really visceral and also really simple to track. It never really takes any time to do, but also really drives those important decisions that I want to push on players.
We've mentioned a few times about Mausritter month on BackerKit. And you mentioned Junk City, which is the next thing for Mausritter. So could you talk us through Junk City and what Mausritter month is, if people have heard me saying this and have no idea what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Junk City is the latest kind of official campaign from Mausritter, from myself and Andre Nova. So we've put together this new campaign. It's a box set. So it's a nice box, and inside that you'll get a collection of 9 adventures, which are presented in a kind of fancy trifold pamphlet format. You get a map, you get some stats, you get a nice cover, all that. And a guidebook which kind of ties them all together. So each of these adventures is kind of designed to be run as you could run it as a one shot, but they can also tie together into this big campaign set in this sprawling city in a junkyard. It's going to be good. I think it's some of my best writing yet.
Brilliant. And it's doing well. I think I see at the moment we're recording this on the 11th of November and you're smashing through stretch goals. So loads of things have been unlocked. The campaign is running until it's early December, I believe.
Yeah, I think it'll run until the 4th of December, maybe 5th.
Great. Okay, yeah. So if you're listening and catching up to this later, it'll be up until then for you to check out. But it's not just Junk City for Mausritter month on BackerKit. There's a whole load of stuff going on there. What made you want to open up to third-party publishers and do this whole event?
Yeah, I think that the Mausritter third-party creator community has always been super important to Mausritter's success. I think that one of the kind of limiting factors of Mausritter as a game itself is that it's kind of operating in this environment of OSR games, which are kind of D&D adjacent games, and those games kind of rely on adventures and content to play, because as a game master, you want to, you kind of need to guide your players through an adventure. You can't just kind of make something up on the fly in the same way that you could in some other games. It just doesn't really work. It's not satisfying and not visceral if you can't like really be quite specific about the situations that the players are in. And so having some kind of, either you're definitely writing yourself is the best way to do it, I think, but also having some pre-written things is a great way to do that. And so like I think that encouraging like I'm just one person. I can't write that much stuff. I'm a slow writer, and so encourage it. Like when I first released Mausritter, I definitely wanted other people to create things for it, and so had a very early on in Mausritter's life, created a very permissive third-party license, which basically says anyone can create anything for Mausritter as long as it's not Nazi content, basically, and as long as you don't say yep. So yeah, and Mausritter has grown a really wonderful, supportive, friendly community. It's one of the best role-playing game communities there is, in my opinion. And yeah, like I think that it's so yeah, we decided to run Mausritter Month, which is a kind of curated collection of third-party creators who we kind of took submissions and picked a selection of the ones that we thought were really awesome looking. And so they're all crowdfunding at the same time as Junk City as well. So we've got 16 projects running at the same time, and it looks like they've all funded now, which is awesome.
Amazing.
And yeah, there's some really cool stuff in there. There's Rolling Coast, which is a campaign set in a theme park. There's Tales of Puil from Josiah Moore, which is just beautifully illustrated. There's Flights of Fancy from Peter Elroy, which is a follow-up to Flights of Fancy, which is a follow-up to Feathertail Falls, which won an ENNIE for Best Art last year. There's a bunch of really wonderful adventures in there, which are definitely worth checking out.
Fantastic. Well, that is all on BackerKit, and if you go to look up Mausritter Month on BackerKit, you'll find all of those things there, including Junk City, to go and check out and have a look. Well, Isaac, thank you so much for coming on and sharing Mausritter with us, and really glad that BackerKit campaigns, all of them, are all doing really well, so congratulations to you on that. Before you go, I would like to ask you, do you have any recommendations for any other tabletop RPGs? And the rules are, it can't be one that you've made, and it can't be Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure. Yeah. I won another role-playing game crowdfunding right now. The third edition of Apocalypse World. I know that they probably don't really need my support telling people to go play Apocalypse World, because it's a stone cold classic, but it's a stone cold classic for a reason. It's the game that when I kind of came back to role-playing games as an adult, kind of made me fall back in love with role-playing games. It's such a wonderful game, beautifully written, and it's the game that really, I think, if you don't feel confident as a game master, I think that Apocalypse World will make you a great game master. And it's just got fantastic advice in there for how to actually become a good game master and run a game without needing to spend hours and hours preparing. You can just follow the rules, work through the procedures, and it will make an awesome game.
It's a great recommendation. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who's watched and listened. We'll be back next week. But for now, we'll say thank you and goodbye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.